Hey, Secrets of the Jews, principles number 8 and 9 of their 13 principles of faith relate to the book that is at the center of the Jewish religion, which creates the Jewish religion, which gives them their history, their commandments, and their prophecies into the future. It's a book called the Torah. The Jews believe that the Torah was written by God. Physically, it was written by a man named Moses over a 40-year period, over 3 millennia ago. But it was dictated by God. It is a divine work, and that's an amazing claim. Let's think about the alternative. Let's say, for argument's sake, that it was made up by a guy named, let's call him Moses, who wants to start a religion that he hopes will last a little bit into the future. Well, there are at least 3 things that he would never put into that Bible because they could be disproved very easily or they reflect poorly on him. First of all, he wouldn't put in scientific claims about the creation of the world at a time when nobody could have known it. And yet the Torah contains a very detailed sequence of creation, from the creation of matter, of energy, of light, of water and the elements and the living things, plant life and animal life on this planet, in sequence. Jews do not believe, by the way, that the earth had to be created in a 24-hour day period of time, because we have 24-hour days because of the sun, and the sun itself, according to the creation story, wasn't created until the 4th day. But rather it means 6 phases, 6 eras. And the more science researches the origins of the universe, the Big Bang and all of that, the more the deeper understandings of the Torah's creation account ring true. But somebody who was trying to start a religion would never take such a risk, because how would he know back 3,400 years ago what the actual science will show in a few hundred years or a few thousand years? And therefore that would disprove his religion if he was wrong, and they throw the whole thing out. And that is not what has happened, because the Jews say the Torah was divinely written by the same God who created it. Second of all, the founder of such a religion and writer of such a Bible themselves would never make themselves look flawed, because if they're flawed, then why should anybody keep their religion? And yet, the Torah itself contains Moses committing acts against God's will and God getting angry at him and punishing him. Not just Moses, his brother Aaron as well, and indeed the Israelites also. So that's not something that somebody who has an ego, who wants to start a religion, would put into their holy book, would they? But if they were told by God, you've got to write this because this is what happened, well, then that's another story. Another indication of the Torah's divine origin. And thirdly, prophecy thousands of years into the future. Such a person founding their own religion, making it up, would never take such a risk of telling what's going to be in the future, telling what's going to be 10 years in the future, let alone 3,000 years in the future. And yet Moses does. At the end of the book of Deuteronomy, he describes a long exile. And there was actually a short exile mentioned in the book of Leviticus. And the Jews indeed were exiled from the Holy Land twice. Once by the Babylonians, a short exile, about 2,600 years ago, and then the long 2,000 almost year exile from the Romans, which the Torah again prophesies that will come to an end, that the Israelites will return to their land, something which is happening before our very eyes. Just open up the newspapers and you'll see stories about a country called Israel. Now Moses wrote these things down before the Israelites had even come into the land in the first place. He would have never taken such a risk to make a prophecy off the top of his head. But if you say that the Torah was written by God, to whom all of the future history of the world is an open book, well, then it takes on an entirely different significance, because then the prophecy is coming from God, who knows what's going to be, rather than a human who might be lucky on any good day about taking a guess. So because the Jews believe that the Torah is a divine document, therefore it cannot be changed, cannot be exchanged, will not be nullified, it remains valid. And the very rituals in the Torah that the Jews observed thousands of years ago, the Passover, Seder, the Sabbath, the prayer rituals of tefillin, something which is called phylacteries, the rules of kosher food, and so forth and so on, and certainly the laws of honesty and concern, helping each other, charity, and monetary matters are also very much central in the Torah. All of these laws are observed today, as Jews have been observing them for thousands of years. The Passover Seder is an unbroken tradition going back year after year after year, straight back to when the Jews left Egypt and had that first Seder then. The Torah is a living document, and because of its divine origin, it never will grow old.